Good morning. This is Jason Dean coming live at you again for another Film Fanatic show. It is 9:43, February 3rd. Hope everyone's doing good. So, yeah, I want to thank again. I've gotten a handful of new subscribers and a lot of people commenting again on the channel, all the videos. I really appreciate the love and the support. It's super awesome. Can't thank you guys enough. And moving forward, onward and upward, hopefully. So always, always watching movies. Um, I had said before in previous videos that about 2 weeks ago, my TV smashed, and so it was pretty funny because I had a friend come into town that I hadn't seen in a few years. So we hung out, came back to the place, and we were gonna watch a movie. And we went out. It was a fun night. We went out to eat for right in town. Had some beers there, and then we came back to my house, and we were gonna watch some movies, of course. But we came home. I came back to my house. We ended up drinking quite a bit, and then I don't know, probably around 10:30 or so. We're like, okay, let's watch a movie. And then she went to go. I said, well, you're the guest, so why don't you pick out a movie? So she spent a while trying to pick out a movie, and then it was pretty funny. She seemed a little bit overwhelmed with choices, but and in the meantime, before that, we kind of just were hanging out, listening to music and stuff, drinking some beers. I had uh, a fridge filled with beer from Christmas, which was funny because I went to a company staff party for work, and then a couple other people. I got a bunch of beer from a bunch of folks. So I literally had like probably, I don't know, two 12 packs in my refrigerator. I don't generally drink at home by myself, although last night I had a beer, which was great when I watched a movie. But generally, I don't usually drink at home, so the beer will stay here in my fridge. So we had a bunch of beers, and then we're listening to music. She was in the other room trying to pick out a movie. I was kind of drunk, and she was a little bit buzzed, and I was listening. We were listening to music, and I listened to lots of CDs because I'm a physical media guy, and I was my CDs are on this shelf on the side by my wall, which is next to my TV. And I was a little bit drunk, and I didn't have all the lights on. I just had a little bit of light, enough to where I felt like I could see. And I was going to change the CD, and gently like bumped into the TV, and then the TV went flying, and I thought I caught it. The TV came totally off the shelf, and I thought I caught it in time, and I didn't see it break. I didn't see it crack, and I was like, oh shit. I was like, I think I saved it. It's okay. And then so I got that set up, and then we picked out a movie and put the movie on, and realized the whole screen was cracked, and it had landed right on the middle of the screen. So I was pretty bummed. So I didn't have a TV for almost 2 weeks, which is crazy. Really is crazy. So what I ended up doing was I had to order a new TV, and so I got the TV and my sound system that I have that has a sound bar with like a subwoofer, which is a really nice system. But I got that a few years ago through, actually, no, actually just a couple of years ago. I had to get an upgrade with my system. Got it through Best Buy. Ordered the TV and realized that the TV was and then when I got the TV, which was last week, it took about 6 days, 7 days to get the TV in the mail. Got the TV and realized it was the wrong make. So then I had to send it back. And then, which took longer. So And then I finally got the right TV, and then I got the right hookups, the cords that I needed, and I officially hooked up my TV and my sound system back on Sunday. So we're golden here at Film Fanatic headquarters. I got all my stuff back together. So I'm really excited. I sat down last night and watched the first movie on my sound system in about 2 weeks, which is like crazy, like totally crazy for me. But I will say, in the time being, right when it happened, because I watch a lot of YouTube, I came across this amazing YouTube channel called The Film Crypt, and they have so many fantastic movies. So I've been, and about 95% of those movies I had never seen before. So I spent the entire last 2 weeks, as far as my movie habits go, movie watching habits, just watching those movies. And it was a first, a personal first or a personal best for me, where I try to stay up on new movies, of course, but I don't, the last 2 weeks I have to say is the most, um, is the biggest like gap of time that I've seen, where I literally saw a new movie. For me, these were all older films. I mean, most of the films on the Film Crypt are all from the 70s and 80s, my favorite decades. So, but 95% of these movies I had never seen before. A few of them I have, a few of them I own, but a lot of them I didn't. And so, literally every night for 2 weeks, I was watching a new movie. And so, just amazing. So, I literally had two pretty big lists of films that I wanted to review. So, I spent a lot of the reviews are up. The first couple of pages of movies that I made notes on that I saw have been all of the movies that you see, reviews that you see now. I still have another sheet of movies to go, but it's been really awesome. Really great to have that as a resource and a backup plan for emergency use. But I will say, it's still pretty awesome. Still pretty awesome, and I'll still use it as a great resource. The Film Crypt, it's awesome. But it's really, really nice to have my player back. It was funny because, like, I watched, which I'm going to definitely do a review on, but I ordered a couple of movies from online, because I got these gift cards from Amazon for Christmas from Santa Claus. And I usually don't really order films online, but I used the cards and I ordered two movies that I had seen on Film Crypt. Microwave Massacre, unbelievable, which I haven't watched yet. I'm probably gonna watch it tonight if I have time. And then the other movie I ordered, which I was just totally blown away by, and that is Frankenstein: A True Story from 1973. And so I watched that last night on Blu-ray, and my second time seeing it, I could not believe the quality of it. I couldn't believe it. I'm like, man, why do I watch anything online? Even though, that being said, the quality of the movies on the Film Crypt, the transfers of most of the films, there's like one or two there was one in particular that was really rough. I almost didn't make it through, but generally the quality is really good. But watching Frankenstein: A True Story online, which was just really a few days ago, and then watching it again last night on Blu-ray, I'm just like, oh my god! As great as that resource is, I'm just like, and these are good quality videos. I'm like, man, how does anybody fucking watch anything online? The quality is just, you can't even compare it in any way, shape, or form. It's wild. It's wild. But anyway, the other night, Sunday night, I went to the movies. So today's show, I went to the movies with some friends, and we went to go see the new Sam Raimi movie, Send Help. And I really, really, I had such a great time with this movie. It was better than I thought, and I wanted to do. Today's show is going to be about going to see Send Help. It just came out, and I think it opened. Um, it opened on Friday, I believe, this past Friday. I want to time it the as far as the video goes, and what I did was I did a video, and I put it out on Sunday. I did a show just on Sam Raimi. Amazing, just one of the greatest American directors, and one of the greatest horror directors. The Evil Dead franchise. I mean, so many great movies. Most well known for the Evil Dead franchise. So I wanted to do a show celebrating his amazing career and so many amazing films that he's done. He's always been one of my favorites, still is. And so I uploaded that video on Sunday during the afternoon in preparation for me going to see Send Help. I didn't know very much about this movie until like a few months ago. I went to the movies. I can't remember what movie it was that we had seen. It might have been the last. It might have been Predator Badlands. It might have been that movie. It might have been. It might have been one of the trailers for that. But I didn't know anything about a new Sam Raimi movie. The last movie he did that I know of was the Doctor Strange sequel, and I heard I actually to be honest I have not seen it. I heard from pretty reliable sources that the movie was okay. I do want to see it. I should see it. I don't know why I haven't, but I heard from some people that it was okay. I heard from some people it was really good. But overall, the general vibe that I got was that it was kind of underwhelming, and I don't know. So, as far as Sam Raimi as a director, he's got a pretty good track record. I think the only movie that I think is a real um, kind of a fuck up or a mess is Spider-Man 3. That movie was a real disaster as far as you know my opinions go. Everything else he's directed or has been involved with, especially when it comes to directing and writing, has been pretty much just incredible. Evil Dead, the first one, the original, my favorite, hands down. And then I also love A Simple Plan. I think that movie is just so awesome. But so many great ones: Darkman, The Quick and the Dead, The Gift, Drag Me to Hell. I mean, as of late, the last 5 to 7 years, he's been producing a lot of films as well, putting his name on a lot of movies, especially with Fede Alvarez films. So, and the Evil Dead franchise, has become just massive, massive. So, he directed all the first three. So, I don't know if he'll direct another. It'd be interesting to see if he ever does another Evil Dead film itself. But since the last Doctor Strange movie that he directed, which I have not seen, which I should see, it's been a few years since he put out any new movies, and I haven't heard anything about what he was up to. I know he was busy producing these last two Evil Dead movies, which are okay. I thought the last Evil Dead film was okay. I don't know. Kind of mixed things about it. And I don't know if I'm very excited about the new one, but he's producing those. He's not directing them. So I don't know. It's a massive franchise, and good on Sam Raimi for making a lot of money off of this whole thing, I guess. But anyway, as far as a director and him writing a project, it's been a while. So I think it was Predator Badlands when I first heard about this movie, which came out in the fall or around November last year. which I was really disappointed with. I was really bummed out with that movie. I really was. I did a review on Predator Badlands. Such a strange movie, but not in really a good way. Just really odd. A very Disneyfied, dignified Predator movie. If that's what you want and that's your jam, have at it. But anyway, um, but I saw the trailer for Send Help, and I remember my first impression that again going to the movies is pretty much in my free time when I have it or whatever. It's pretty much my favorite activity. I I love I love going to the movies so much. And then my other thing that I love doing is going out to see live music in some capacity. But I really really love going to the movies. I have even in a case or cases, and it's definitely happened where I've gone to a movie and I've been really bummed out or disappointed. Case in point, going to see earlier this year Lee Winnell's The Wolfman, which that movie was a total turd. That was easily the worst movie of 2025 and easily the biggest disappointment. But even that being said, going to the movie with some friends, we went out for some food and drinks before. There weren't many people in the theater, but just the experience I loved. So even in the case of where it's a movie that is not very good, and this movie was such a disappointment. I just really love the experience. Um, so anyway, I saw the trailer for, and I didn't know going into it or seeing the trailer that it had anything to do with Sam Raimi. And my first impression was, okay, that looks pretty good. And I was there with I remember I was there with another group of friends, and I thought, okay, this looks kind of cool. But my first impression was it looked like a cross between the television show Lost, which I am a big fan of. I haven't finished the whole entire series, but I do really like that show. I got way into it back in the day, but it looked like a cross between Lost and also Lord of the Flies, which is an amazing film. So it looked like where it was a film where there's a plane crash on this really tropical on this tropical island, and basically it's just these two people trying to survive, and some pretty nasty shit goes down. That's kind of what it looked like. And at the end of the trailer, Sam Raimi's name appears as the director, and I was like, oh shit, Sam Raimi. So I remember being like, huh, and it did look good. I wasn't like, I didn't jump out of my seat with enthusiasm, but I thought it looked really good, and when I saw that it was a Sam Raimi movie, I was like, oh wow, okay, that definitely piques my interest. But I remember also being really surprised because the movie looked a lot different than what I would expect from Sam Raimi, I guess. But anyway, so I saw the trailer and I thought the trailer looked good, and then I don't know, a couple of months or so went by. I kind of thought about the movie here and there, but more or less kind of put it on the back burner because 2025, from about November or so, I mean, really all of last year, right up until the new year, there was some freaking fantastic movies. 2025 was an outstanding year for films, including all genres of movies. And so I was pretty busy seeing a lot of those movies. And so I kind of forgot about it a little bit. And then it was about a week ago, a YouTube channel that I watch that's really, really good. They did a quick out of the theater reaction for this movie. And I had not seen any other trailers for Send Help after seeing it in the theater. I didn't know anything else about it. I knew Sam Raimi, it was a Sam Raimi movie. That was it. I didn't see any reviews. I didn't this or that. But I saw a quick little out of the trailer reaction, and it was very, very general. But and this channel that I was watching, that I watch, is a really good, reliable source for film reviews. You know, really, they're really good, and they raved about this movie. They said it was thrilling, it was funny, it was disturbing, and it was just, you know, they laughed their asses off. It had all these elements. So I piqued my interest, and then I saw, oh wait, it's coming out this week. So then I looked it up, and then it was opening that Friday, and then I called a couple. It wasn't super planned, and I got in touch with a couple of friends to see if they wanted to go to see it. We had tried going to the movies, I think, a week or two before that on a Sunday to see Primate, which is a new kind of monkey slasher movie that I heard was really, really good. But we got a really big snowstorm, so I was not able to go. We didn't end up going to the movies. So I saw that Send Help was playing right at Flagship, and some of my friends, like I have a two group of friends, I guess more or less that go more. Some in the Belfasty area that we've gone to, like the main film center in Waterville, which is absolutely an amazing venue to see a movie. And we've gone down to Rockland Strand, which I have to say, and it's been awesome because I've been going to the movies a lot more, and it's been just spectacular. I have to say the best movie theater, other than IMAX, I will have to say would have to say is easily the Strand Theater in Rockland. They have just the best sound system. It's incredible, beautiful screen. It's the only theater in Maine too that I've heard is where they show 4K quality or 4K transfers of films. So the quality is just like insane. I went there again earlier, just a few weeks ago, to see One Battle After Another, which was my top movie, the best movie for me that I had seen in 2025, which was a pretty stacked year. I went there to see it a second time, and I was just blown away. Blown away. I think the only other experience that you could have locally that's even more, I guess, intense or immersive would be if you went to Saco, Maine, to go to the IMAX theater, which is a haul. I mean, you got to be committed to drive 2 hours, I think, to go to a movie. But it's a really beautiful theater. Other than that, locally, Strand is the best. But we went to Flagship. Another little group of my friends that we were like movie buddies. They live down in that area. So, and for me, where I live here, Northport, location wise, it's really great because I'm like real central. I'm like right in the middle of it. So it's everything is relatively close for me. So if I want to go to Belfast or Rockland, it's not, it's easy. So we ended up going on Sunday night to see Send Help, and I absolutely thought this movie was awesome. It had everything that it was way better than I expected. I thought it was going to be good, but it had so many great elements. It was incredibly funny. Some of the best comedic writing I've seen. It was a thriller. It was an action movie, and it definitely had some awesome horror elements. Really, really good. It had so many great elements tied together. The cast was absolutely. I was blown away by how, like, within the first 5 minutes of this movie, I was hooked. I was like, these actors are absolutely amazing. Rachel McAdams, she is a total fucking powerhouse. Absolutely unbelievable. She's been in a lot of movies, over the last 5 to 10 years, but she is a tremendous actress. Like, she can do anything. The movie that I saw, there's some I have not seen with her in, and I do want to check those out. But I've seen her in a few movies, and one that really grabbed my attention was Spotlight, that came out a few years ago, and which is an amazing film. And it's unbelievable how different of a character she is in this movie, in Send Help. A true actress. She does not rely on. I sometimes call it the Robert De Niro syndrome, or the Christopher Walken syndrome, where those guys are great. I mean, they're like icons. And in movies where they really acted, they are absolutely incredible. Movies like, as far as De Niro goes, Taxi Driver, of course, or like Godfather Part 2, or even The Mission. And then like Christopher Walken, like movies like The Deer Hunter, or like The Addiction. Oh, just iconic roles, and it really showcases how incredible those guys were or are. But they often, they're so, and I think it almost outweighs the good. But there's so many movies of where they just kind of play themselves. Like Robert De Niro just kind of plays Robert De Niro, and Christopher Walken just kind of plays Christopher Walken, and it's a paycheck for them. Same thing with Al Pacino, same exact situation, but not in this case. Not in this case, and I don't see that ever changing with Rachel McAdams. She is unbelievable. Also, Dylan O'Brien, who he sort of seemed familiar to me. I probably have seen him in other things, but unbelievable. Such a great actor. And the cast is so great in this film. In the beginning of the film, we're kind of introduced to these characters with other characters. Most of the movie is essentially Rachel McAdams and Dylan O'Brien alone on an island, stranded. And it's just them for 2 hours, basically carrying the whole movie. But in the beginning of the film, we're introduced to all of these other characters. Dennis Hasbert, Eddie Ishmael, Samuel, Chris Pang, Emma Rainey, who I think, Emma Rainey, Sam Raimi's daughter. Wow, okay. That's wild. That's so wild. I didn't know that. The rest of the cast is amazing. The writing is so great. The characterization, right away within the first 5 minutes of this movie, and again, there's a lot of dialogue scenes in this movie. There's a lot of people talking, essentially, and character development. And again, there are moments of incredible suspense and really kind of explosive moments as well. But the film is really like character driven, and I have to say, like within the first 5 minutes of this movie, the writing was so great, the acting was so great. I immediately cared about everyone and everything that I was seeing. Immediately, I was hooked within the first 5 minutes, because I was like, I care about everything that's going on. I care about all these characters. I think they're all unique. They all have some real interesting things to say. I was into it, totally into it. And Dylan O'Brien and Rachel McAdams, unbelievable, unbelievable. The two of them together, the chemistry. The other thing about their characters and their acting ability is they, essentially, especially when the film moves into the later part, I guess, of the first act. And I'm not going to go into spoilers. The amount, the range, the various ranges that their characters go to or go through, or the places that they go through or go to, the arcs in their characters is so unbelievable. I mean, just for instance, Rachel McAdams, like she plays, she goes into so many different areas. There's scenes of where you don't know, like, and I have to say there were so many scenes in this movie, so many areas of this film where, I guess I've seen after, and typically what, backing up a little bit, typically after I see a movie in the theater, I try to go into it cold. Generally, if I hear, sometimes I will cheat a little and I will like find out a little bit more about the movie. I'm pretty good. Like when I was younger, I think when I would go to the movies, it would sometimes, if I heard too many things about a film, it would sometimes kind of take away from my experience, where it might influence it to some degree. But I think now, I think it's because I just watch a lot of movies, but now I find as I've gotten older, I don't, it doesn't really interfere with it. I'm able to like check out this or that if I feel inclined to do it about a movie or this movie or that movie. And when I go to the theater, I'm able to just kind of like block it out and go into it fresh with a clean slate and not feel like I'm going to get, influenced by anything that I heard or think about, oh, it's, with like this preconceived notion as to like how I think the movie's going to be. I'm pretty good about going into the movie, you know, starting at zero. Which when I was younger, that wasn't always the case. So I try to keep away, regardless. I try to keep away from reviews and things. But after I see a movie, typically what I do, because I guess I have no life, but typically what I do after I see a movie, that's usually when I will look it up. I will check out reviews, varying opinions, those things. And usually when I go to a movie, I don't usually do out of theater reactions because I find it's fun, and that's a big trend on YouTube, and I do think, your first kind of reaction to a movie, or reactions that you have, your gut instinct, you know, for the most part, I think it's relatively safe to say that's usually how you really feel about the movie. But I do feel like there's many examples, at least for me, where it does shift quite a bit. I decided I kind of started doing out of theater reaction videos, but then I was like, well, I want to do it with a little bit of a fresher kind of mindset. So I usually wait 24 hours or so, a day or two, in this case, 2 days, to to actually do the show, because I feel like, okay, if I wake up in the morning and I'm still thinking about it, or if I, in some cases, if I have the urge to like want to see it again, talk about it, tell people about it, and I'm excited about it, or I wake up and I'm like, I don't really remember anything. I can't really I haven't retained anything from the experience, and it was like, yeah, it's a, for me, it's a, that 24-hour period or 48 hour period is a real telltale sign. But generally, I think it's safe to say, like, how you react in the moment, if you're lost in the movie, or you're really dozing off, or you feel like, you know um, let down, or um, there might be something in the film where you're totally taken out of the movie. So all those kinds of different things. So I generally wait after, and then I come home typically, and I will check out some of the YouTube people that I watch. I will check out their reviews of the movie, and be like, oh, okay, that's an interesting point. Sometimes with people that I really like, I will pick up on something I might have missed. So it's a fun little process. But this movie, I went into this movie with thinking, okay, I think this will be fun. This will be pretty good. But I will say, I felt like this movie was even better than I thought. I really love this movie. I thought it was really fun. The theater, it was cool going to the theater too, because there were a lot of people at the movies on a Sunday night, which was a big surprise, which you don't see all that often in general. So that was a really nice surprise. The cast was amazing. The um, the other thing that is cool. One of the things that I had heard about some of the reviews that I read about the movie after I saw it was more or less that the story was really simple and straightforward, but it went into some really unique areas. And I don't know. I think one guy I had saw who did a review for the film who really liked this movie. He felt that some of it was a little bit too predictable. And for me, like I will say, like the premise of the story. I mean, basically, if you have this scenario of like two people who hate each other, what happens if both of them are suddenly, cut off from the world and stranded, and they need to figure things out? How does that work? How does that dynamic change? Kind of like the classic Lord of the Flies thing. Only in that case, it's like a group of people or kids. Which is a scenario or a story we've seen a lot of. A lot of. We've seen lots of films where people do get stranded, and they have to survive and try to get rescued. All those things, like that's a thing we've seen many times. And yeah, I guess you could say that that's pretty straightforward. That's pretty easy to understand. But the thing that was really unique with this film were there was I would say that there were multiple moments. I'd say at least four moments, four solid points of watching Send Help where I was like, I have no idea where this is going to go. I have no idea what's going to happen. Because just when it was kind of arriving at a place in the story or some kind of thing was happening with these characters, I was like, okay, maybe it's going to go down that route. But then it would just totally switch on its end and go in a totally different direction. And there were multiple moments where I literally did not see where this story was going to go. I love that. And that doesn't happen all that often, but when it does happen, it's really great. Especially if something I don't know, dramatic say happens in the story and you feel like, okay, this is where it's going, and and something big say happens, but then you realize, no, it's going to go in this other direction. I love when that happens because you're like, man, where the hell is this going to go? Like, and that as a fan of films and stories, that's going to, obviously engage me more to like really focus in even more into the onto the story or with the story. So this movie had a lot of those moments, and I think if you're a Sam Raimi fan like I am, huge Sam Raimi fan, this will satisfy all of that and keep you really surprised. I think this movie is, I mean, comedy. The whole you know, the comedy genre has always been, and humor obviously, has always been a big part of Sam Raimi films. Pretty much in all of his films, there's always some kind of comedic element, always, and some maybe more than others. But this one, I will say, has even more of that. I would say it definitely has a black comedy element. Like it's not. I feel like the comedy aspect of this movie is not just a little element, But I feel like it's it's more than that, and it's a bigger part of the movie. It was really fun seeing it in the theater because the movie also has some pretty kind of gnarly disturbing things that the movie goes into, which is great. It has a great balance of all of those things, and it's got so much tension to it, which is so fantastic. Um, but it was great seeing because there were quite a few people in the theater when we saw it, which was really great. Because a lot of the times, which is always kind of sad and depressing, there's not a lot of people in the theater. It's still an amazing and fun experience, but still. Um, and this movie elicited so much response from the audience. It was really great. People laughing and cringing at times for some of the gross out parts. Danny Elfman does the score. Bill Pope does the cinematography. Who did the Matrix films? Beautiful. It looks fantastic. Or Dave Pope, I think is his name. I might have his name wrong. It looks great. And Danny Elfman's score is really awesome. Really, really great. I had such a great time with this movie. I'd see it again. And again, it's so interesting how like there were moments in the movie where I felt like okay, the relationship between Rachel McAdams' character and Dylan O'Brien's character, because essentially it's just the two of them on this island trying to survive. And there were times of where I'm like, okay, is this gonna go down to where it's gonna be like kind of a romantical film? Um, are they gonna like just eventually kill each other? Um, are they gonna try to get off the island and just kind of build a life together, or are they gonna try to stay on the island and just build a life together? Um, there were so many again like the story like I said like yeah the story is straightforward but the way these characters interact and all of these different areas that they go to being like passive aggressive even being lost or being stoic or um, all the whole myriad of emotions that could happen in this kind of scenario. It's unbelievable how that shifts so much throughout the movie, and again leads. That's what really I feel. That's those things is definitely for me what which led to me really feeling I didn't know where this was going to go. I'm like, where the hell is this going to go? Like, where do they go from here? And it has a lot of cool, interesting plot twists, to put it mildly. One, and I started to say a minute ago, one of the reviewers who's on YouTube, who did really like this movie, but still said that the movie was pretty predictable. Like he could see things coming and to see where it's going. And for me, I didn't see that. I didn't see that. I thought it was a series of some really big reveals and surprises. Where I was, you know, it when there was a reveal or a big plot twist, and then kind of felt like, okay, this is where the film is going, or this is that new tone that the movie is kind of bringing you into, where suddenly it feels like it's in this new has this new tone to it, and then it would be this like sharp right or sharp left, and then suddenly you're like, wait, where the hell is this going to go? I think the way the writing was crafted, what gave it something really unique and really different. And I will have to say, this movie was just really fun. I had a good time. It was just really fun. Friends who I went with seemed to all really like it. One of my friends was like, I turned to her afterwards and I was like, "What did you think?" Because I was really into it, And I will say, like, I waited. I saw it 2 days ago. It's Tuesday morning now, 10:30, and I waited 2 days or so. I wasn't able to make a video yesterday morning, but it was good because I got to wait a little bit more and think about the movie and see if what my feelings are on the film and all those kinds of things. Um, I turned to my friend right after. I was like, "So what'd you think?" And her reaction was like, "It was okay." She didn't seem to be as into it as I was, and she did say she felt that the movie was very 90s, which I guess is a bad thing or could be a good thing. So I was a little bit surprised by that. Some people have been posting these things too where they're saying that this movie is like, I saw one clickbait thing, and I don't click on bullshit clickbait things because there's too much of that garbage. But somebody had posted this thing of saying, well, the headline was, "Is it Sam Raimi light?" Meaning that this movie does not have a lot of gore. I mean, obviously Sam Raimi is known for copious amounts of gore, but I will say, I sometimes think when you think about, I mean, Sam Raimi is primarily known as a horror director, of course, and he always has horror elements in pretty much all of his films, always, and that's his roots, in especially in the horror kind of gross out zombie world of exploitation, guerrilla filmmaking 101, especially with the Evil Dead films. But, and I had said this before with Evil Dead, or with my show on Sam Raimi, that, watching the first three Evil Dead films, which I love, they're all amazing. And my favorite's the first one, but as far as the gore factor, practical effects, I have always felt, and like I watched them fairly recently again, and I own them, and I watched them more or less back to back, and I kind of want to do it again. I felt like, man, the gore factor get are there's less and less as you go. Like if you watch the first one, it's totally gross, it's super gory, it's super over the top, it's totally gnarly, it's totally nasty. The second one, there's less of that, way less. And then by the time you get to Army of Darkness, there's virtually none. But again, those movies are still really, really amazing, and I love those movies, the other ones. Army of Darkness especially goes way more into like a fantasy film, and it's amazing. But when you look at the gore factor, it's so much more sanitized. And I'm not sure why. It might have been something he just, as a director, wanted to do, Sam Raimi. I'm not sure. But so he's kind of known as this like super gross out kind of director. But really the only movie that he's done that is like way over the top with total gore is really the first Evil Dead. Like that movie is like, I mean, it's probably one of the goriest movies ever made. It's like one of the greatest zombie movies, possession movies, if you will, ever made. It's a pure low down and dirty, nasty movie. Um, but every other film. I mean, again, he's made so many great films, but he gets described as that all the time. And really, I think when you look at the movies, he's only made one where it was like balls to the wall gore, really. Um, but all of his films are pretty violent. They have that uh, capacity to them, or the area. But it's kind of funny. I think he gets a little bit of of a of a thing of like being this, like, I don't know, king of gore, when his films are actually, it's really only the first one that's like, just bloodletting. Bloodbath. It's a total bloodbath. And there was a guy who had posted a video, was like, "Is this Sam Raimi light?" And I'm like, and some people had said, well, another guy who I watched who reviewed Sent Help, said that he wished that some of the gore was a little bit more over the top. I didn't think so. I thought the movie, the gore that we do see, and the violence in this movie, when this film does get very dark and very twisted and disturbing, when when that happens, I feel like it totally satisfied the story. It was totally perfect for what the story was, for what the movie was, for what the characters were doing, the whole world. In that context, I thought was perfect. I didn't think it was gonna, it needed to necessarily be like super gory for the sake of it being super gory, because that would be. That's why I don't like the, and I'm kind of the lone man out for saying it, but that's why I don't. Um, I am not a fan. That's why I'm not a fan of the Terror franchise. I'm the last man standing, and pretty much the only guy coming out and saying that. I'm not a fan. I haven't seen all the movies, but I did see the first one, and I feel like those movies are gory just for the sake of gory, and there's nothing else there. There's nothing giving the film any kind of lasting power. Yeah, it's crazed fucking gore, and it's like pushing the envelope, which is cool, and I love that a filmmaker, Danny Leone, was like able to make a movie and turn this movie into a big franchise. I guess I don't. But it's cool that an independent director can make a movie completely outside of the system and push the boundaries to a degree. But the movie itself is not is I don't feel like it's very good. The first one, and I don't feel any interest to see the other ones because I just feel like it's going to be more of the same. And with this film, Send Help, I thought, no, the stories, whatever genre of film it is, characters have to be good. You have to be invested in it. You have to be pulled in. You have to be at a place where you care about everything and everyone, even if it's a character that's vile and disgusting. You kind of have to have empathy towards him, or see things in his character that you are pulled to, in order to like be enveloped in the story. And then everything else, whether it's an action movie, whether it's a western, whatever the fuck it is, everything else is secondary. Everything else is secondary. And I think for what Sam Raimi did with this film in this context was awesome. I felt totally satisfied. Super fun. I highly recommend this movie. I'd love to see it again. It's pretty wild, and it's such a fun movie. So yeah, thanks again, and we'll see you next time. Peace.